What is a transformation crisis and how can societies overcome it? A transformation crisis can occur when a society changes quickly without adapting its political system to the new social reality. Let's have a look how economic, cultural and social changes work together to overstretch traditional political systems, creating deep crises of legitimacy. In a way, transformation societies are suffering from their own success. Decades of economic growth have created a modern economy. Such modern economies are not only bigger, but more complex than agricultural economies. Providing the necessary infrastructure and public goods for a complex economy requires a highly effective governance system. Traditional governance systems were built for a different time with different needs. They're hopelessly overstretched in catering to the needs of a complex economy. So the first structural change eroding the traditional order is increased complexity. A complex economy diversifies society. In an agricultural economy, you could be a warrior, a monk, a merchant, a craftsman or a farmer. You have relatively few professions. In a complex economy, there are web designers, and yoga teachers, and heart surgeons, and so on. Different lifestyles create different worldviews, different interests, and different values. Therefore, in a pluralist society, the noise of debate and conflict is not the exception, but the norm. Traditional political cultures are often centered around the notions of unity and harmony, and perceive diversity as divisive and conflict as decay. So the second structural change overstretching the traditional order is diversity. Economic and social development creates winners and losers. New middle classes emerge in the provinces and demand equal participation in political and social life. The established middle class in the capital may see these demands as a threat. Along with the traditional elites, they are not prepared to accept these citizens as equals. The result is a long drawn-out social conflict over the political order. Hence, the third structural change overstretching the traditional order is conflict. Complexity, diversity and conflict work together to erode the old vertical society and create a more horizontal society. This is the point when the long-term trends become a practical problem. The top-down, exclusive decision-making mechanisms of the old order no longer work in a horizontal society. What is needed is a decentralized and participatory political order, with a governance system which is able to satisfy the needs and demands of a complex economy and a pluralist society. However, the question which political system fits best is by no means academic. On the contrary, at the very core of the transformation conflict lies a political struggle over the political order. It is an all-out political conflict between those who seek to conserve the status quo and those who want change. But a transformation crisis is more than a power struggle. It is a rivalry between worldviews, a clash between moral codes, a competition over what is the truth. A transformation conflict shakes the foundations of society, questions identities, and disrupts traditions. It is a polarized, emotional, and sometimes explosive conflict over the fundamental question how people want to live together in a society. If you look at the transformation paths of dozens of countries, strikingly similar patterns can be found. Once a country starts opening up its political system, stability quickly decreases. Only after the prolonged conflicts have been resolved through a social compromise, stability slowly begins to increase. In other words, transformations are a rough ride where things can get messy. The challenge for every developing society is to get through these rough patches quickly and safely as possible. Of course, some may think that it's not necessary to open up the political system. Especially when things get messy, they seek to rush back to the safe shore of authoritarian rule. A quick coup d'etat may indeed create short-term stability. However, these rollbacks do not work in the long run. The structural changes at work will continue to cripple the political system and choke development. Sooner or later, society has no choice but to open up the political system again. The pressure to open up is not theoretical, but driven by urgent practical problems which cannot be tackled with the old tools. How to satisfy the growing demands for public goods if the middle class does not accept to be taxed? How to deal with demands for greater participation if traditional elites do not accept all citizens as equals? How to process the vast amount of information needed to steer a complex economy when only a few people have the authority to make decisions? In order to tackle these and many more challenges, the political operating system needs to be upgraded. The governance system needs to be able to process more information. This can only be done by the decentralization of the decision-making process to include more people. A basic mechanism is needed to determine who has the mandate to make decisions. Only elections can collect this legitimacy. Fuses are needed to limit majority rule to the rules of the game. Only a system of checks and balances forge these boundaries. New tools are needed to cope with sensitive and politicized problems such as corruption. Only institutions with a track record of proven impartiality will create this legitimacy. Only democracy has the necessary power sharing and mediation mechanisms to tackle all these challenges. In order to resolve the transformation conflict, society needs to renegotiate the social contract. On a political level, this means to adapt the political order to the new balance of power. On a social level, it means to strike a social compromise between all classes. This means the elites accept democracy as the only game in town and start to make their electoral platforms more inclusive and responsive to win a mandate supported by the majority of citizens. The majority, in return, accepts limitations to majority rule as long as full capabilities and equal life chances for all are provided. Equally important to the content of the social contract is the process how it was agreed upon. This has to do with the nature of institutions. Rules are nothing but a piece of paper until all sides agree to live by these rules. If rules are imposed by one side over the other, they will be resisted. Therefore, it is of utmost importance that the reform processes include all stakeholders from all sides.